The loony left is using LGBTQ+, basically the alphabet, to groom and indoctrinate kids into victim groups, so they can tell them that everyone who is not in that group is oppressing that particular group, and CRT to indoctrinate them to be good little communists. If you don't believe me, they're already talking about arresting people for using speech they don't like.
Next.
Mr. Joe Carpenter will be next.
Good evening, Mr. Osborne.
Hi, my name is Randy Osborne. It's Osborne. I'm here tonight. I'm not here to discuss the recent legislation that was put in place for parents to review book content in the schools to be determined if it's age appropriate. Very specifically, 1467. It's not what I'm here to talk about. It's not what most of these people are here to talk about tonight. This is about Florida Statute 1847.012, that actually the governor's office identified as the distribution of obscene materials distributed to minors. A minor is identified as one who is under 18 years of age. The statute goes on to explain books and materials, whether printed, that describe sexual conduct, sexual excitement, sexual battery, or other types of sexual abuse. The statute goes on and explains the distribution of material on school property. And it goes and says this, and I quote, any person violating any provision of this section commits a felony of the third degree. And then in the last part of the statute, it says this: the sheriff and state attorneys shall vigorously enforce this section within their respective jurisdiction. That's what I'm talking about tonight. Some of the people of the school board has known that some of this graphic sexual content is in the high schools. I know that because it was voted on a couple years ago. This content meets and exceeds the threshold of obscenity to minors. Let me be clear. This is not the parent's job to go mining for felonious activity. This is the responsibility of the school board to do that. One of the books was identified nearly 3 weeks ago as obscene material was this book right here, Flamer. It was identified in a press conference by the governor almost 3 weeks ago. This book right here, Flamer. And it disappeared. It was leaked out intentionally by us. It was leaked out. It was removed on Thursday. It was removed by the school board on Friday. The only problem is you need to go get that other book that was checked out by that young person that actually has this book that was identified by the governor. Flamer talks about someone, if you want to read the excerpts of it, I'm not going to go into that. I have more respect for myself to get into this graphic content of this, but I'm going to explain a little bit about what this is. First of all, on the front of that book, you see that kid holding up his fingers? You know what that is? That's a satanic symbol. That's what it is. That's religion. That's religion in the public school system. But I want to go on and say this. The book in the front is a satanic symbol. It's a graphic depiction of young boys performing sexual acts at a summer camp. Additionally, it makes fun of Christianity throughout the book while it's promoting a satanic cult. Instead of the job of the parents to hunt out felonious material, I would say perhaps it's the job of a local and state law enforcement agencies to start addressing this if the school board does not.
You know you're in a cult if 1. You believe you are what your imagination says you are. Delusional, characterized by or holding false beliefs or judgments about external reality that are held despite incontrovertible evidence to the contrary, typically as a symptom of a mental condition. You know you're in a cult if 6. You believe reality isn't real. Delusional, characterized by or holding false beliefs or judgments about external reality that are held despite incontrovertible evidence to the contrary, typically as a symptom of a mental condition. You know you're in a cult if 10. Thanks to Jamie Lee Curtis, who didn't know how many Oscars she'd won, them can't count. You know you're in a cult if 11. You will cry in protest to take a real black woman off a syrup bottle and a Quaker off a box of oats named Quaker Oats, only to put a fake white woman on a beer can. all while saying, "I can't believe they're so upset over a beer can." Bud Light parent Anheuser-Busch's stock has lost $27 billion over Dylan Mulvaney. You know you're in a cult if 13. If you get triggered because someone doesn't think you're special because you were born into one of the CRT-approved victim groups, they believe deeds and personal responsibility warrant pride. You know you're in a cult if 18. Lost your shit over To Kill a Mockingbird and Huckleberry Finn but are screaming about banning books with gay sex and masturbation in school libraries. You know you're in a cult if 20. Will lie even with irrefutable evidence. You know you're in a cult if 21. Being so filled with hate, you will groom, mutilate, and murder your own children, all while calling your opposition fascists. You know you're in a cult if 22. Believes that out of 7 billion people on the planet, white, straight, males are somehow oppressing everyone else. You know you're in a cult if 23. Will lose your shit when someone points out that you're not oppressed, you're just stupid. You know you're in a cult if 25. Will refer to a biology book as right-wing propaganda. You know you're in a cult if 26. Will lose your shit if someone actually uses proper English instead of your made-up pronouns. You know you're in a cult if 32. Are the same people who say you can't indoctrinate kids to be gay with a book or a drag show, but continually accuse the church of doing that very thing. Although religion isn't taught in schools, and you're not forced to go to church. You know you're in a cult if 33. When someone is simply talking science and common sense, you will try to bring religion into it. Well, you know the church. Well then, don't go to church. It's not against the law. Not going to school is. You know you're in a cult if 34. Will use unrelated behavior to justify their sick, grooming behavior. You know you're in a cult if 39. Will lose your shit when someone says you're in a woke cult, and to prove you're not, you do the things on this list over and over and over. You know you're in a cult if 40. Will accuse your opposition of that which you are guilty. You know you're in a cult if 46. Consider chemically castrating a pedophile horrible and inhumane, but chemically castrating a child just dandy.